Welcome back, folks, to another Archetype review. I'm Frizz, and today we're going to be covering the Scout archetype from the Advanced Player's Guide. The Scout is all about, obviously, scouting to the surprise of literally nobody, and it has a really big focus on being stealthy and helping out your allies. Also, there are a fair amount of abilities that help you out in natural environments specifically, but rather than just wasting both of our times talking about that, we can just jump directly into the mechanics of things. The Scout dedication is relatively simple. It requires that you're trained in both stealth and survival to take it, but that's pretty reasonable for a character that's going to be doing a lot of scouting. The dedication itself gives you two different benefits. First, you get the Scout's Warning Ranger feat. This is normally a 4th level feat, so getting it for a 2nd level dedication is really good. And it's a fairly simple feat, but it has some nice bonuses. As a free action, whenever you roll initiative using perception or survival, you can give all of your allies a +1 circumstance bonus on their initiative check, regardless of what they are actually rolling for their initiative. Depending on how you do so, it either gets the auditory or visual trait. So if you say, "Hey guys, watch out, it's an ambush," then that's an auditory Scout's Warning. But if you give like a hand sign, then it's a visual Scout's Warning. The second benefit that you get from the dedication overall is that whenever you take the Scout Exploration activity, your allies get a +2 circumstance bonus to their initiative checks instead of a +1. This is obviously really good, because bonuses to initiative are always going to be good. The combination of getting Scout's Warning and the bonus to the Scout Exploration activity are very good, because it means that regardless of what you're doing, you can give your allies a bonus to initiative. But if you're really going out of your way to scout it out, then you can give them a really substantial bonus. So your allies are always going to appreciate you being there, because they're going to be more likely to go first. Scout's Charge is a pretty simple way that you can spend 2 actions to get 3. It's a pretty standard combo meal for martial characters, and it's pretty standard because it's very good. Scout's Charge in particular allows for you to spend 2 actions to stride up to your speed towards the target, then feint against them, and then make a melee strike against them. The interesting part of this is that you can use stealth for your feint attempt instead of deception, because you can use the terrain to your advantage. For example, you could try and duck behind a tree or another obstacle, and then your enemy doesn't have an idea of which side you're going to come out behind, so then you can catch them off guard. Using dexterity to be able to feint is amazing for rogues specifically, because you can use dexterity to get your enemy to be flat-footed, which is fantastic, and depending on your stealth proficiency modifier, you might be very likely to get a crit, in which case they're going to be flat-footed for a hell of a lot longer. Of course, everyone can make good use out of Scout's Charge, but rogues are going to get the most out of having a flat-footed enemy, so this is just amazing for them. Also, do keep in mind that this is a flourish action, meaning that it might conflict with some of your other actions, so just keep that in mind. Terrain Scout is a super simple feat, so long as you know about the Terrain Stalker feat. Essentially, Terrain Stalker gives you the ability to sneak around in particular types of terrain incredibly well, so long as you move very slowly. If you want to hear more of my analysis on it, then I'd really recommend checking my video on the stealth skill, since a lot of the rest of this archetype actually depends on understanding how stealth works. So if you want to check that out, then go right ahead. But Terrain Stalker is very simple. Anyways, the Terrain Scout feat gives you the Terrain Stalker feat twice, and you get to choose 2 different terrains that you're going to be better in. Also, when you're avoiding notice and someone else is using the Follow the Expert Exploration activity, you can choose one ally to gain the benefits of Terrain Stalker. It's alright, and I do wish that you could choose more and more people the higher your stealth proficiency, but being able to choose one person is still good, because you can pick whoever has the lowest stealth modifier or the lowest dex, and say that they are benefiting from it so they don't have to roll anymore, which is going to greatly improve your chances of not being caught. Fleeting Shadow is another example of the pretty simple and standard 2-for-3 combo pack that you can get on a lot of martial characters, and it's an absolute godsend for any character that is trying to be stealthy. For 2 actions, you use 1 hide action and then you sneak twice. If you want a more detailed look at these actions, then you should really check out my stealth video since I go over them in detail there. Now that is enough shameless self-promotion for a lifetime for me though, so I'll just settle by saying that this makes sneaking in combat so much easier because it allows for you to move a lot further and have a lot more freedom. Being able to sneak twice means that you're going to be able to move basically your full movement speed, which is so much better than just half. This is incredible for someone who's trying to be hidden in combat. Scout speed is probably the simplest feat in this entire archetype. You get a plus 10 foot status bonus to your speed, and whenever you're calculating your travel speed for overland travel, it is counted as a plus 20 foot status bonus. For most characters, this is fantastic, since bonus movement is literally always going to be useful. For monks and swashbucklers, though, it's not nearly as good, since they will naturally be getting bonuses to their speed that will conflict with this. So maybe don't take this if you're a monk or swashbuckler, but for everyone else, this is an incredible static bonus to your speed with no conditions attached. Scout's Pounce is pretty good, but it does take a little bit of setup to be at its full potential. For 2 actions, while you're hidden or undetected by all of the opponents, meaning that this doesn't work if literally anyone knows that you're there, and you're at least 10 feet away from anyone, you can then stride up to a target, and then make 2 strikes against them. If you were hidden or undetected, which you kinda had to be, then they are flat-footed to both of the strikes, and your multiple attack penalty applies as normal. So basically it's a stride up to someone from being stealthy and hiding, and then you stab them twice and they're flat-footed. This feat works really great if you can hide and then rush a target to quickly take them down, but it's only really helpful if you are a melee character who's trying to be stealthy, and it's only going to really be useful once in a combat, because once you're next to someone, unless they run away from you, you can't use this again, without having to then run away, hide, and then move in again, which is probably going to be about every other turn that you could use Scout's Pounce. So it's fantastic for approaching once in a combat, but it's not going to be as useful as a sort of every turn sort of ability, which is perfectly fine. The abilities don't have to be useful every single turn, they generally just have to be useful once if they're good enough, and this is pretty good. Camouflage is normally a 10th level ranger feat, but it's still pretty great at level 12. Though in some campaigns it's really not going to be worth it. It requires that you are a master in stealth, which is a fair thing to ask for a character who's going to be scouting a lot, and in natural environments you can now sneak even if you are currently being observed. This means that you can spend 1 action to move half your speed, and you just disappear into the environment. Who doesn't like fading into the foliage like some kind of nature spirit? Although this is going to be a little bit worse in particular types of campaigns, because if you're in a campaign that has you be in the wilderness a lot and explore natural environments, then this is fantastic. If you're mostly going to be in a city, like say if you're playing Agents of Edgewatch, then this is pretty awful because you're not going to be in natural environments very frequently. So it's up to you to depend whether or not this is going to be good for you or if it's going to be bad. Just make that decision on your own, because that's something that I cannot tell you because it depends on the campaign that you're currently playing in. Overall, the Scout is a very short and very sweet archetype that gives you a bunch of fairly simple abilities that give you some more options without dumping in a ton of extra rules on top of it, which I really like. It fits nicely inside of the already pre-existing stealth rules and uses them to their advantage, which is really impressive when an archetype can come off as having distinct and having their own flavor without having to come up with a bunch of new rules that you have to learn on top of it. So this is what I would really point out as being a fantastic beginner archetype, especially for someone who wants to try and be sneaky, because you don't have to learn a whole bunch of rules on top of what you're already learning for your class and for being a sneaky character. So really, this is a fantastic archetype. If you're looking to make a scout, even if you aren't in the wilderness, the scout archetype is a fantastic option to add a little bit of pizzazz back into your character. Thanks for watching this video. It's been a pretty fun one to make, and it's kind of crazy how close that we're getting to the holidays. So if you celebrate those, then happy holidays. If you don't, have a good month. If you have anything that you'd like to tell me, then head down to the comments down below, because I do read all of them, even if I don't reply. And yeah, I take everything that people tell me under advisement and try and improve what I'm making every single time. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you want to like or subscribe, then feel free. I'd really appreciate it, and it'd be a nice present for the holidays. But anyway, until I see you next, live a wonderful life.